I am a minister of the church. I'm the executive director of ministry here. Matt worked for the church on our custodial staff. I think he was maybe a little quiet, was always respectful. It was a Friday. Came to work. It was just a Friday like any other Friday. The next thing I knew, something was happening that wasn't normal. Nobody knew where Matt was, and that if Matt showed up at the church, we were supposed to contact the police.
You could hear the helicopters kind of going around, so we knew something was going on. And then all of a sudden, I see Matt walking through the doors. And my heart started beating really fast because he was just really stoic and just kind of had this glaze, and he's just going past. I just remember he had on black. It was almost as if he was in a trance, like something just told him to come here. The way that he walked, it was just very straight and very direct, and he didn't look left or right. He didn't look scared or panicked. It was just an eerie calm. And so I actually made sure everything was locked, and then I came back, I called the police, and I told them that he was here.
So I was in Emerson Hall. I came out of Emerson, walked out here, and there was Matt, and I gave him this huge hug. And so I just said quickly, here, why don't we just go into the library?
It was right after 3, and I began driving toward the house. And I got about a mile away, and I received a phone call from the exterminator who was there to exterminate the house for us. He said, you need to get home quickly. And I said, why? What's wrong? He said, please, just get here as fast as you can. And when I pulled up, there were people all over the place, and I knew something was wrong. And I ran up to the house, and I saw my wife's body in the front yard with the paramedics working on her. All I could see was her top. They had cut it off, obviously, and she had one hole, puncture mark, right in the middle of her chest. And then somebody said she'd been stabbed. I walked over, and of course, I just fell to my knees and started crying.
So I was sitting on the couch here. He came in and sat next to me. He was saying just wild things like, is this real? Am I here? Did I just do something wrong? Did I hurt somebody? I don't want to have hurt anybody, right? It was like somebody who did not know at all what was real or not real. So we were talking for quite a while, and I remember looking up and seeing, felt like a lot, like many officers coming. So I remember looking up thinking, oh, here they come. They came over to him and they asked him to stand up, and he was just completely compliant. Somehow I stood up and I got myself in front of him, and I remember like taking him by the shoulders and actually put my forehead on his forehead and prayed for him and told him no matter what happened, he wouldn't be alone. We loved him. And then I remember one of the policemen saying like, like time to go, miss. So then I had to let go of him, and they took him.
Our system is broken. They don't treat patients who are obviously mentally ill as patients. They treat them as criminals. They need to have a separate location for people awaiting trial who are obviously mentally ill when they commit any type of crime. There needs to be not just medication, but actual treatment. But we don't have that in Oklahoma. If you study mental illness, you find that most of the time it affects young people when they reach about the age of 20. And with him, that's exactly when it hit, right when he turned 20. He would black out. He would say things to his girlfriend that were absolute gibberish. He wouldn't even know what was happening. And his girlfriend or friends would say, what's wrong? He says, I can't remember anything. What did I just do? He didn't have any idea. We knew something was going on. Veronica, as I said, was much more in tune with Matt than I was. And she kept telling me, Michael, there's something wrong with him. There's something wrong. And so about 3 weeks before death, we made an appointment with behavioral health to have an evaluation done. And unfortunately, the appointment wasn't until about probably 2 months after death. It was in November.
I can't imagine anything worse than losing touch with reality and harming, killing the person you love more than anything else in the world. That just seems like the ultimate human suffering I can imagine, killing one's mother.
I had no anger towards him. No matter what happens, he's my son, and I'm going to continue to love him. I tried every day to see him. When they're in medical like that, you can't visit. And so every day that it was visitation, I would go. And they would tell me, you can't visit him yet. And finally, after 5 weeks, I was shocked one day when they said, you can see him today. Since then, I've seen him at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. And we're much closer now than we've ever been in our lives. As a pastor, I've been able to visit some of his friends that he's made. All the guys that I visit that know him said, your son does not belong in here. He is not one of us. And these guys have been in trouble their whole lives, and they said, he's not like us. You know, he's in general population with people who intentionally killed people, intentionally raped people, and he told me just the other day that he fears for his life every day.
So just tell me how you're feeling right now.
Obviously anxious. I just want the truth, and we know what the truth is, and so I think that if the judge is fair, that the truth will be known, that he'll be seen the way that he should be seen, as a patient and not as a criminal. There were no surprises during the trial. I'd heard everything before. The only thing that I didn't like was the closing arguments.
They spoke about his recorded jail phone calls to his father, which indicated that he was really hoping that he would get found not guilty by reason of insanity. They indicated that that's the actions of someone who knew what to expect at trial and was perhaps faking his problems so that he could achieve that goal.
He said those things because of conversations I had with him trying to give him hope. You know, when you're in a place for that long, you lose hope. And so she kept bringing those things out. She kept saying that he hid the knife, he threw it away, he threw his driver's license. But what was actually happening is that he was trying to leave a trail. He told me this in his psychosis, trying to leave a trail for his mother's soul. And he led that trail to the church where they found him. He was trying in his mind to lead her soul to heaven. And she twisted all of that and trying to say that he had no remorse, which quite frankly made me very angry. And so as she was walking out, I asked if I could speak to her. And I said, I just want you to understand something. You don't know the times that my son and I sat together and talked about his mother and cried. Almost every time we visited for 2.5 years, we've cried together over the loss of his mother.
If he does get that not guilty by reason of insanity ruling, do you think that the hospital in Veneta is going to be everything that he needs?
I hope so. That's all I have. You know, that is the best case scenario for my son. That's really the only scenario for treatment. You know, there are no other options. I was also told by someone that used to work there that the more involved the family is, the better it is for them. And I plan to be very, very involved. I am his advocate, I'm his voice, and I will be there every chance I get.
I think I heard you mention last time, are you thinking about writing a book about?
Nervous, anxious, and I'd been very confident before, but this morning it really hit me. Beginning to doubt, beginning to, worry. We've always had hope, but now we really know that hope's going to be realized. We know that someday we'll be able to hold him, see him, and I think someday he'll come home. If anything, we need awareness, and that's what I want to do. I want to do whatever I can to make people aware of the symptoms of mental health. It's estimated in Oklahoma that 1/3 of the population is suffering from some type of mental illness. He was psychotic. Had he not been psychotic, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that he would never have done anything like this. Never.